You're watching TV3. This is New Day, and it's now time for that conversation on PCOS. Millions of women across the world have been diagnosed with PCOS. Many Ghanaian women have PCOS. Unfortunately, from what I've discovered, many women do not know about this condition until when they are trying to conceive. From having difficult periods and abnormalities in their bodies, they do not know or think that it might be PCOS. Truth is, we don't know enough about PCOS as a society. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Dr. Nana Henekulabi, the Principal Fertility Specialist at Accra Fertility Center in Medifem here in Accra. He's here to help us understand PCOS and all that there is to know. If you're a woman and you're watching us, please take notes. Ask the men in your life to watch also, because this is something that we all need to know about and understand. Doc, it's great to have you in the studios.
Thank you, Na.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to people, especially about this very condition, which is also very dear to my heart.
I'm glad you're here. Let's start from the beginning. What is PCOS?
PCOS, if I would take it figure by figure, the S means syndrome. PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. And in medicine, if you say syndrome, it means it's a collection of signs and symptoms, problems of a patient, all grouped together. And it looks like when it's called a syndrome, it means there are different sources, sort of, but in this particular condition, it's coming from the ovary. The ovary is the organ which produces eggs for pregnancy to occur. So it's a collection of symptoms. We'll hopefully go over them.
Okay.
And that's for the S, syndrome.
Okay.
Poly means quite a lot, or many. So when polycystic means there are many cysts. And again, in medicine, if you talk about a cyst in the body, it means a collection of some fluid, which is sort of packed up, and that becomes a cyst. So it differs in sizes, and in this particular problem, the cysts are called antral follicles. That is where the egg, which is meant to help us fertilization and pregnancy, these eggs are in these small bags, which are follicles, but since they are not really producing what we really need, it is called a cyst.
Okay.
So we have many cysts inside the ovary, which is presenting itself, and infertility is one of them. Infertility.
Now, when I first heard about PCOS, it was from a friend who was trying to conceive, and then she was diagnosed with PCOS. I'm not proud to say this was about 5 years ago. And when I found out, I learned that so many people had PCOS, and I was shocked to find out that late in my life. And I also found out that a lot of women do not know they have PCOS until they're trying to conceive. My first question about this is, who can get PCOS, and how can you know sooner in your life that you have PCOS?
Well, the reason or the cause of PCOS is really not known. It's unknown, but it's associated with certain symptoms, certain problems. And if any girl or a woman in the reproductive age group, your periods are not regular, or sometimes they come on but very heavy bleeding and all that, that alone, we know that periods are associated with egg laying. And if there's a problem with a period, then there's most likely a problem with your egg laying and fertility. So first, that may be the presentation, irregular periods. When any girl at birth, you are endowed with a number of eggs called primordial follicles. Follicle in our terms means small, small bags which contain eggs. You are endowed with it. And then by the time you reach the age of 12, 10 to 12-ish, you have your first period, that is the so-called menarche. And usually around that time, you may not notice that there is a problem. But when this period starts becoming irregular, initially we don't bother because in a young girl it may be. But if it's going on for more than 2 years, a year or two, that your periods are irregular, not regular, the thing we know every 28 days and things like that, then it draws attention to the fact that there could be a problem. Number two, you find this, the condition is associated with high level of male hormones. We call them androgens. And you find that these these patients, I wouldn't like to call them patients, it's not right. These clients, they have a high level of androgens and male hormones. How does it present to us?
So women who have PCOS have a high level of male hormones,
which is androgens.
Does it show on their physical self?
And of course, male things, hair. You wouldn't expect a woman to bear some hair on the, in the
like
face,
a
in the
mustache,
chest,
mustache, and chest hairs,
and then on the chest, even sometimes at the back.
On the back.
On the tummy, you see, we call something the female hairline. It means it's right on top of the pelvis there.
Yeah.
But male hairline, it draws up to the navel.
Okay.
So if you see a woman with hair, which is inappropriate for a woman, it's hirsutism, and that is one of the presentations of PCOS.
Okay.
The other, so you have the male hormone thing, and it also may be producing acne.
Acne?
Yes, you have a young girl with a lot of acne on the face, oily face, and things like that. It's most likely could be PCOS. You have a young woman who is obese out of nothing. It's just growing fatter and fatter. It's associated with this PCOS. See, we cannot say this is the cause of PCOS, but these things I'm talking about are associated with that condition.
I've heard about women say that their body, they feel that their body looks like that of a man. Not that they have no breasts, but usually they have large breasts, and then their body shape is like an inverted pyramid, so to speak. Their chests or shoulders are very broad, and then they get smaller as it comes down. So it's a small waist, small buttocks.
Curve, yes.
Is that a true sign?
It's definitely yes. When there is an overweight, and you cannot simply lay hands on why she's so much overweight, and with other things like the period's irregularity and things, then you have to be thinking of polycystic ovary syndrome.
So you have PCOS. What does it mean? How does it affect your day-to-day life?
First, your appearance. Imagine that a young woman, you are bearing a lot of hair on your face. Hair. Yes, it's the cosmetic. So the main thing is cosmetic to start with. And in that case, of course, you may have to approach the right place. You might go to see a dermatologist, looks at your face, and start doing things for you. And sometimes we have to attack the hormone, which really helps to produce these symptoms. So the first thing which bothers most people are the cosmetic,
physical attributes.
cosmetic things.
How about how it affects fertility? I'm asking this because I find that a lot of people who discover they have PCOS is because they're trying to conceive. What difficulties or challenges does PCOS present when you're trying to conceive?
As simple as that, you are not getting pregnant.
Because of the presence of the male hormones?
Of the presence of, and as I said, you cannot say that the male hormones are the cause of infertility. They are associated with it. And because the basic thing, if you go down to the pathology of it, to the ovary which bears the eggs, there is a thick surrounding on the ovary. So when the process of trying to ovulate comes up, you find that the eggs are not coming out because of the thick membrane which is covering the ovary. So it's trapped. And when it's trapped on the subsequent periods, they also have a similar entrapment. So they bear small cysts around the periphery of the ovary. And that is a typical presentation at scan. When we do a scan, abdominal or pelvic scan, we find that these ovaries are showing these typical small cysts around which means the thing is not coming out, the egg is not coming out, and it's entrapped. So eventually the management of the situation depends on us trying to promote the eggs being released from the ovary itself.
So the situation can merely be managed but not treated completely so that you don't have PCOS anymore?
Treated. You can manage it. And by the way, this condition is also associated with diabetes. Diabetes means...
Doc, before we talk about diabetes, let's talk to Amma, who has just joined us on the phone lines. Hello, Amma.
Hello. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. It's great to have you on the phone. Amma, when did you first discover you had PCOS?
Okay, so so let me give a backstory first. So I went to the hospital showing malaria symptoms, and then I went to see the doctor, and the doctor started asking me questions about my reproductive health. He was like, does my menses come regularly? Is it like, how is the flow? Is it on time and all that? And I'm like, why is he asking me those questions? Because I came here because I feel I have malaria. It's got nothing to do with my reproductive health. So he was like, okay, he's going to treat me, and then later on I should come in to have a scan because I had facial hair, and he's suspecting I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't really pay much attention to it because, well, my menses come, like maybe it'll delay for like a week or something, but then it'll come. But then there was a time I had a scare where my period had delayed for close to a month, and I hadn't seen my period. So I was a bit worried. So I went to the hospital, I did a pregnancy test, and they were like, it's negative. So that was when I decided to take what he told me serious. So I went to get a scan done, and then I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome on the 31st of December, 2017.
Wow.
So yes, that was how my polycystic journey started. So I was a bit depressed. Like I was not happy about it, and I'm like, well, I read about it, and I'm like, this is going to alter my life. And I was like, well, I'm not going to take any medication for this thing because I think if I should make some lifestyle changes, it's going to help me in the long run. I started gaining weight, like uncontrollable weight around my abdomen. I was suffering from hyperpigmentation. I had facial hair, and a whole lot. My period would delay for like a week, 2 weeks, and like I got to a point I was getting used to it until I decided I needed to make the changes I needed to do. So I started going to the gym. I started eating well, and I became obese. So after the weight had come down, I realized, oh, my menses started becoming quite regular. When I say quite regular, it moved from the 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks delay to like maybe a day or two delay, which is quite okay, which I think is okay. So from time to time, I get my normal checkups to see where things are, and I try my possible best to eat well and work out and all that. And I limited my sugar intake because I knew of the insulin resistance bit of it and all that. So yeah, those were that's how my journey has been so far. It's not been easy. The mood swings, I don't know, but then like you are not yourself. You are not 100. You know it because there are times you're going somewhere, you have facial hair. People are like making fun of the fact that you have facial hair, and you're a woman, and like why should you be having facial hair? You don't have to tell everybody this is what I'm struggling with. And when you decide to be honest about it, okay, this is the condition I have, and like this and this is what I am doing to manage it and all that. And like yes, you lose some relationships because of that, because they are like, well, I don't want to be with somebody who would have issues with childbearing in the near future and all that. Like yes, so being diagnosed with it generally changes. It changes your life. It alters your life in a certain way. But then, if you're able to try and understand what is going on with your body and try to help your body become better, it's one way to go. And there are medications that would help you here and there. But this is me who wants to go the natural way and like not use medications and all that. Just the lifestyle changes and like the routine checkups, just to know what is going on and how to manage it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all that with us, Amma. Let me ask you, if you don't mind sharing, how old are you now?
I'm 32 now.
And you were first diagnosed when you were about 27?
I'm struggling to hear you a bit.
Were you first diagnosed when you were about 26, 27?
Yes, that was when I was diagnosed. That was when I was first diagnosed.
And prior to the diagnosis, you hadn't noticed your facial hair and so on, or they came a little later in life?
I'm sorry, again.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Okay, I think we'll raise Emma on the phone later. We're having a little trouble with the phone lines. But thank you so much for calling, for joining us on the phone line and for sharing. We might call you back. I appreciate the insights you've given us from the perspective of someone who has PCOS. A lot of the things that she has said are things that we were hearing from our classmates in primary school. Irregular periods, unexplained obesity, mood swings, and so on. Doc, how prevalent is PCOS and how seriously do we need to take it?
If you have a group of women, it's quoted from 2 to 27%. Any group, just group of women, you are not talking of infertility. So it's quite prevalent. Almost 25% of women have some indication or something suggestive of the polycystic ovaries.
Are there different types of PCOS?
No, it's
just PCOS.
See,
you have it.
Yes, but all the symptoms are not the same. You may have somebody with PCOS with no
facial hair.
Yeah, no hair or acne or whatever. And we only pick it up from the scanning. When we do abdominal or pelvic scan, you can see that pattern, which is very convincing to us. And we do some hormone tests, which confirms. And in certain, with certain patients, clients, they are not even having irregular periods. Some are even getting pregnant without, initially they just get pregnant. It doesn't mean if you have PCOS, you can't get pregnant on your own. No. It happens. We describe it as an enigma amongst ourselves. We know that it's never the same. Yours may present differently. But what the lady just spoke about is the general thought of what can happen. So the cosmetic problems, then the irregularity and whatever.
Of your periods.
Yes. And the periods may also be regular. But when we go into it with further hormone tests, so these will be the three main things with the hormones, the irregularity presentation, the cosmetic presentation, and then the scanning. If you have any two of them, then you are likely a PCO candidate.
PCOS. Doc, how do you manage PCOS?
As the lady rightly said, first you look at the general lifestyle. I've seen certain cases where after dropping their weight by 5%, they get pregnant spontaneously. So try and, if they are the obese type, there are some very slim and yet PCOS.
Yeah.
But if you are on the obese side or heavyweight side, then it's best to try and bring down your weight.
Okay.
Again, I mentioned something about sugar.
Yeah.
Most of them are not diabetic.
Okay.
Diabetic means high sugar levels, above the normal and all that. But no, they are not. But they are potential diabetics. It's believed that 40% of such of these clients may turn diabetic later on in life, especially above the age of 40. But currently, the young ones, they don't. They don't show signs of diabetes. And it's, again, the lady talked about insulin resistance, which it's one of the associated conditions with PCOS. I said associated because we are not sure whether it's really the cause. We do find it in most patients. So you tend to make your life around the fact that you don't take a lot of carbohydrates, try to limit your sugars, and especially you take a lot of fruits containing
fiber.
Yes, and then that would sort of help. But in general, if you come to us and we diagnose PCOS, we look at, are you worried about the cosmetic aspects of it? Are you worried about the irregular periods aspect of it? Are you worried about pregnancy? And if it is, then we approach it. Yes.
Let me ask you one final question, sir. I have been told that the younger you are as someone who has PCOS, the higher the probability that you will not struggle with fertility. For example, a lady said that when she was diagnosed with PCOS at 17, she immediately got pregnant.
Yes.
And she had her baby without any complications. She is now about 37. She's been having unprotected sex since, and she hasn't gotten pregnant at all. Yes. Does age have or play a role?
Age is a very major factor in fertility. It's not just PCO. Whatever you are, you may be normal now at this age of 20, 25. And when you are above 35, your fertility drops markedly.
35?
As you age, as you grow on. But we notice that from 35 onwards, the drop is quite marked. And so in general, it's not just because of PCOS.
Okay.
Age is, I would advise any woman, if you want your career, whatever, first, your career progression and you leave your fertility from 35 onwards, it's really down. And by 37, if you are not getting pregnant, it's itself a problem. And PCOS, of course, once you are affected,
it presents more difficulties.
A bit more difficult.
Unfortunately, that's all time will allow us. Thank you so much for coming, sir. I know we've been talking for almost an hour. It doesn't feel that way. But perhaps we can have a more extensive conversation on PCOS another day.
Right,
thank you so much. I've been talking to Dr. Nana Henekulabi, Principal Fertility Specialist at the Accra Fertility Center inside Medifem. So you've heard all there is to hear about PCOS and polycystic ovarian syndrome. If you have any of these signs, I highly recommend you see a doctor. If you have facial hair, irregular periods, unexplained obesity, mood swings, and so on, please see your doctor, your gynecologist, and get checked. Next is entertainment, and Bella is going to be talking to a lovely, talented young lady, Nana Blue. Stay tuned.